Hey, today's guest is someone I've known since childhood, and I say since childhood, and we're still children, we're still kind of childish, but I have known this guy for a long time. I'm not even going to try and do the math and figure out how long. But this is someone that still continues to inspire me with really just how he shows up in the world. And so I wanted to invite him here today. Dean is a dad, a husband. He is a wheelchair athlete. He is a TED Talk speaker whose story has impacted literally millions of people. Behind all of that, he's someone that just lives what he believes with resilience, humility, and perspective. You're going to hear some of that perspective today. Um, and we'll talk about life before the wheelchair some. What's changed since being on the stage, the TED stage, and all that, and then how the idea of redefining your personal average might shift your mindset a little bit too. So no scripts, no editing of this. You're going to get what you get. Just real stories from real people, and let's just hit record. And I already have. So here we are. Dean, a lot of people. So I've shared your story with a lot of people. And so a lot of people that watch this now might recognize you from that, but even if they don't haven't recognized you because I shared it, maybe they've just seen your TED Talk before. Um, I looked before this, and so on the TED Talk website, it's over 4 million views. There's a YouTube link that's pushing a million, and then I know there's several other YouTube links that are, off of that. So I know it's well over 5 million views of your TED Talk. I've watched it probably 1 to 2 million of those times myself. So I'm trying to help you out as much as I can.
My family has the other three, so we're good.
Okay, so not everyone may not, know your story behind that. So could you give me like just a quick version of your journey for anyone that maybe hasn't seen that yet? You don't have to go the full thing, just a quick version,
Yeah,
just so people kind of get an idea.
yeah, and you're too kind. Yeah, it's difficult, right? So where do you start? And I think going all the way back to as you said when we met, 1983, 84, something like that, you know, to have an opportunity to grow up in the community that we did and be given opportunities to get through school, get through college, and then start a career. Um, and have things going as well as they were going. And in 2011, to have the brakes slammed on that in a very much, um, I was never asked permission sort of way. Nobody asked if it could happen, but essentially, here in my acreage, behind me, maybe about 100 yards, I had a large round bale of hay fall off a tractor and hit me on the tractor where I was seated there, and it popped my spine, and I broke my T5 and T6 vertebrae, leaving me as a complete paraplegic. So that was December of 2011. Um, Quick 10 weeks in hospital of recovery, a couple different places, and then a little bit of struggle to try to figure out how I'm going to get my career back, how to be a parent and a father again, a member of the community, and all those things. And there's all sorts of stories that go into that. Um, and only to have an opportunity with my company where I'm working at Wells Fargo to have them continually back me and support me with different things. One of them being the wheelchair racing. So around 2016, 2017, 5 or 6 years after the accident, I stumbled into this challenge to basically push 13.1 miles in a half marathon in a wheelchair. And, once I got started with that, there was a point in there, as I kind of say in my talk, that I kind of forgot about who I was before. And I'm in such a better place now, even forget the wheelchair, just, 23 marathons later around the world. And here we are, and looking at, I have to make a call this week if I'm going to go to Berlin in September and do that one, and so on. But yeah, it's an amazing thing, and I think, you in particular were a very strong person in my recovery. and still remain that way. And but people don't know what you've done for me on the side. But you know, one of the things that people ask is like, why are you doing this? And I truly believe that you personally can puff your chest out and have pride that you had a part of that, and you know me, and you've seen what I can do in that wheelchair as a 52-year-old average wheelchair user. And you can honestly say you had a part in that. And I think if I can help people in this community, family, friends, and so on, feel that, then I think that's pretty cool for them. So
Yeah. Yeah, and you do. I have no doubt that you do that on a local level, because I know that you are definitely seen on a local level with a lot of things that you've been involved with, but then outside of that too, and probably with people you'll never know, that you made an impact in. So yeah, and honestly, that's why I share your story. Because I mean, it's reciprocal, isn't it? If we can inspire someone and they, in turn, they're inspiring someone, and if you can help that person inspire other people, that's truly what I want to do. I want to help people be seen, because it's just a fire we light, and it catches, and we need more of that. So
and the thing is that I mean, we're not done. I mean, I'm just getting started. And so I'm kind of excited about, I mean, even, tomorrow, looking forward to like, okay, is it going to be hot? Am I going to be able to get out of my racing chair or not? Am I just going to struggle through work? And what am I going to do? You
yeah,
know, and so on. But I have a contraption in my basement called a roller. It's essentially like a treadmill, and I can put that racing chair on it and just spin and spin and spin. Well, it's I don't know if it's on purpose, but it is just to my left all day long when I'm working, and I see it all day long, and it's just calling saying, "Come on, get off your lazy butt. Let's get working out and stuff." But yeah, what it
sure.
is.
So tell me, and we'll kind of come back to some of that. Tell me, and everyone that happens to watch this too, tell me a little bit about who Dean was before the wheelchair. Who is Dean? What drove you? Who did you identify as? What was? Tell me a little bit about Dean.
It's your thing. And since we're unscripted, my wife has got the weed eater going, so I'm gonna close the window so we don't hear it.
Yeah, that's all right.
So she's deciding to just,
I
trim me.
couldn't hear it here, but it's
It
probably
was it was
80.
gonna get closer. It was gonna get
Yeah,
closer. So before the accident, that's a lot of things, right? And and you've got siblings and parents and all that. I mean, very privileged, I think, from an upbringing perspective. Um, Meaning we didn't sound like we had a lot, but we had each other and we had everything we wanted at the same time, which was kind of bizarre, right? But in small town Iowa, that's kind of what it is. And to have an opportunity to go to a small college, and a huge part of my story in the background is getting an opportunity to play college football at a place called Central College in Pella, Iowa. Division III, right? No scholarships, just show up a bunch of guys and playing. And, much like we're buddies, those buddies will be lifelong friends. And to have that opportunity to play and be a part of that team and the things you learn, I mean, I don't know if it's a cliche or what, but man, you learn a lot playing with the team, right? All the way through high school and so on. If you can find to be a member of a team, I don't care what kind of team it is, like even in the band, we had a blast playing in the band in high school, right? And so all of that going well. And, the career I was in was all data, it's all technology, it's all in my hands and my head. And so thankfully my injury didn't, well, my wife might argue my head, but it didn't impact a lot of that. But I was a contract. I was a member of a consulting firm, and I was leading a national consulting firm team, if you will, a practice within the company in a multi-million-dollar business to help companies have analytics and such. And so when that company fell by the wayside, I had a friend call up and say, "I want you to come work at Wells Fargo with us as a contractor." And sure enough, I mean, having the opportunity to work with executives and talk through what we're doing with data and so on from being kind of an outsider and being a contractor is pretty cool. And to get hurt while I was a contractor and have my contract expire while I'm in the hospital recovering, to then have Wells say, hey, why don't you come on full time and don't worry about how soon you can get back, we'll take you. And
Wow.
to have that transition happen. And before that was going on, right, you'll remember Mr. Billerbeck in sixth grade, right? And I remember being videotaped giving a book report on film. And I'm so nervous in front of this camera that I'm literally shredding the book in my hands as I'm talking, right? In sixth grade, scared to death of public speaking. Got a C in speech in college, couldn't barely get up in front of folks, very nervous about it. And to have, an opportunity to work on those skills at this consulting firm I was at quickly changed the game. And I was speaking at conferences around the country about technology. And one of the big challenges was how could I get that part of my career back? Because I knew I could go in and take over a room. I knew I could do it. I knew my content, right? And if you know your contact, anybody that's afraid of speaking, if you know your contact, you're good. But to wheel in a wheelchair and take it over was a big challenge to figure that out. So I think from a personal standpoint, right, we adopted two of our three daughters um, a year and a half prior, right? So they barely got to know me from a walking dad perspective. In fact, my youngest probably doesn't remember me walking very much at all. I was a member of our school board locally. I was helping, well, after the injury, started helping coach, but always involved with the kids in the little league and stuff. So we were flying high. I mean, things were going great. So
Yeah. A part of your speech the TED Talk, and I'm going to drop the link, by the way, in the comments here.
you
And
get up to 4,000,001.
yeah,
Thanks,
get up to
Tony.
four
That's good.
million and one. And but
Yeah.
one of the things you started talking about in there was kind of the personal average thing, and I think that speaks to a lot. It spoke to me because we do this comparison thing a lot. Just like in a 1 minute synopsis of personal average, explain that to the people that'll be
Yeah.
watching that here.
I think that when I get a chance to speak to folks, I think one of the most poignant moments of the conversation, I just ask people if they've ever been called average. Like, has anybody ever called you average or put that stigma on you? And I would bet it didn't feel good. And I would pick somebody out and say, "Have you met my average friend Corey?" And everybody's like, that didn't sit right, did it?" And basically, I draw a line between averages being something that describes somebody, right, versus something that you can possess. And so I've tried to tell myself that this is my world, right? So this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. This is my thing. This is how I feel. This is my sickness. This is my financial side of it, my work, whatever. That's mine. That's my average. And if I put that in a ball and I carry it around, that's all mine. Nobody can take it, right? It doesn't describe anything. And the major challenge there is that people will try to label it as being a good average or a bad average.
Mhm.
And the only way you can do that is if you start comparing to others. But to be honest, I don't know yours, right? I have perception of your average, but I don't know it. You might be going through something. Your knee may have acted up again, and I don't know it. And I will never know that if you don't wish to share it. So how can I possibly know if my average is better than your average? So with that in mind, my job is to take this little ball that I have that I own that I'm in control of and build on it. And can I make it a little bit better? And that's the idea, is it's a little better every day. And you have to understand that you're going to have some bad days. And I think this is one of the biggest clues, is like, it's okay. It's okay to have a bad day. And I think so many people put so much pressure on themselves, and young people in particular. It's like, it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to be vulnerable. And I mean, trust me, I can take, we kid around. It's like, you could find Liam Neeson, right, from all the movies and being a really tough guy, right? Find the 5-year-old version of him. He can tip me over and hold me hostage, right? I mean, if a kindergartner wants to tip me out of my chair, I'm done. They can literally hold me. So talk about ultimate vulnerability. That's part of it. And I think if you embrace that, it's pretty powerful. And if you use that to control that little average, so be it. Now, you can have some arrogance about it, right? I feel really good about where my average is today because I just got done doing some things I was really excited about, but tomorrow it might be down. But it's still not a matter of, oh, I'm better than Corey or whatever. It doesn't matter because you don't know, and I don't know. In fact, this is a really interesting paradigm over COVID when everybody had to be online for work and the camera on. Nobody knew was in a wheelchair. I would meet new people and they would make comments, things like, hey, do you like to go hunting? And I would say, nah, I'm more of a fish from the dock kind of guy. And I wouldn't clue them in on what's going on,
Yeah.
right? And we would eventually meet in person and you kind of see them rewinding all the comments.
Oh,
But
sure.
oh yeah, you know. In fact, this is a good one. Last week, and I don't care, right? People that know me, I think my joking about it is very real. There was a woman on the phone that she couldn't get her screens figured out, right? And she goes, oh, I just feel so handicapped. And I just bit my lip. It's like, whatever, but because you can't see me in my wheelchair, perception and some anonymity around that, it's important. So the basic point of that is that there's a lot of words involved in there, but if you can take average and not let it be an adjective and make it be a noun, a thing that you're in charge of, and just build on it and build on it. I tell you what, it can be pretty pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a yeah. Those of you when you get to watch that, you'll see his story and how that really plays out. In that deal in your TED talk, you talked about um, how walking again. There came a point when walking again didn't even really matter anymore. Like, and I know initially that was like your drive, like, that, but there came a point where that didn't matter anymore. What shifted to get you into that place?
Boy, to be honest, I think the racing had a lot to do with it.
Yeah,
Getting started with that. So, when the doctor shows up at your bed 48 hours after the accident, basically says, "Yeah, you're probably not going to walk again," and that's all you hear from the doctor ever. I mean, it's what it is. Um, to going to, I think, the best spinal rehab hospital in the country in Denver called Craig Hospital, to having them at my final discharge meeting and for them to say you're done. And I'm like, time out. What do you mean we're done? I'm not walking. I thought I came here to walk, what's the deal? And it was a big, mind blowing thing at that point. Right. And you come home and for 5 years, I put a smile on, I kind of plodded through it. It's not like I needed competition. It wasn't ever what it is, but it was hard for me to find something that I could continually see progress in myself,
right.
right? And when my physical therapist suggested doing that race, um, there isn't anything on the internet that says how do you train in a wheelchair for a marathon. And I just started tracking every activity, and I think that's the big thing where the average idea settled in, and that everything I track is on Strava. Feel free to follow me. I'm not an elite user on Strava. I track everything, but I don't even use the paid subscription. I just track everything, so I can always go back and look and see. And once I started putting in those miles, um, yeah, it was something clicked, and I found something I could do. It gave me confidence all the way around in a lot of other places. Um, and there's still kind of a hashtag unstoppable attitude to it all. I mean,
Yeah.
this weekend I was in our shop where we had to put some new wood up on the walls, and here I am with a roller and a broom handle, and I'm rolling paint on walls that are 12 feet tall, just sitting there doing my thing. Like, I could decide not to,
Sure.
but I could do it. So why wouldn't I do it? And so it's one of those things where I'm not a victim, right? I never have thought about being a victim, but there's definitely a spot there where the the gratification, the power of just, can I get 1 second faster? Can I get just 1 second faster?
Mhm.
And then knowing that tomorrow I'm going to be 5 minutes slower, and that's okay. I mean, it just really became less of a thing. My parents, I think, are still enamored with it. I mean, they want the best for me. And whenever there's a new study that comes out, hey, have you seen this? Oh, they can make you walk again. And I'm like, I can get from here to that front door faster than you, and you're walking in my wheelchair, and I don't want to use a walker or crutches to get there in 20 minutes when I can get there in 4 seconds right now. So I'll hear those news articles and stuff from my parents, and they just want the best for me, and others do as well. And I like reading them, but there's a lot missing to it. And for me, it's not a mental hurdle that I'm not missing anything. So I can't shake your hand while I'm standing up. Oh darn, it looks awkward when I give you a hug. Oh darn, I don't care, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So your wife was out weed eating a little while ago, and she might still be out there. You went
She's
for
on the other side of the yard now
it.
somewhere. Yeah.
She hasn't just mommy coddled you and said, "Oh, Dean, just sit down. I'll take care of everything for you." She hasn't been like that for you.
No, if something happened, I'll fall out of my chair just messing around with the dog, right? By accident. And she'll hear the thud and she'll grab her phone, take a picture, send it to the kids laughing, and then walk away because she knows I can get up on my own. But she's people have asked me what her TED talk would be like, her
Yeah,
version of it. And it'd be interesting. She would never, ever, ever, ever get on stage, ever. And then after that, never.
yeah,
Um, but we didn't have a lot of woe is me. It was on, second or
yeah,
third day in the hospital. She made it pretty clear that we're going to get to work. Um, and roles change. So she's out there trimming the yard. I still mowed it last night.
yeah,
She can Saturday night. She can trim it today, and I'll do the cooking and the bills. And we've got a good system worked out. And I will push my wheelchair, and I'll weed eat small areas where I can, but um, she likes being out there doing stuff too. So
yeah.
she's a
No,
pretty powerful woman.
yeah, that's why she is super supportive. That's why I bring that up in jest, because it isn't like she's just mean and taking pictures and posting it up. Look at, haha.
Well, she is though, but
But she is. But it's in a loving way, right? Is that tough love? I don't know. That's just
you,
love in itself,
I think I obviously don't know what she went through. I know how hard she fought in the early weeks of the hospital to get me transferred to Denver.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of other people helping out as well. Um, but I know how much she looks after me without me even knowing it.
Mhm.
And I pick up on that when people, so if I travel for work and we're going out to eat, I notice when my friends are looking out for me, making sure that the crack in the sidewalk isn't going to get me, because they haven't seen me get over it. That sort of stuff. And it's appreciated, it's what it is. But she cares immensely. And just in the simple stuff, like with any marriage, I would guess. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
How has life changed for you since you've publicly started sharing your story?
You know, it's going to sound really weird, but things have slowed down, meaning, I mean, work is all on all the time. We know that, right? It's not like I'm on call, but you never stop working. You're always thinking about what's next and so on. But I'm able to kind of just take it as a pace and throw it at me. Okay, let's go, let's go. And at work, I've made comments to folks and they don't quite get it. They look at it sideways, and I just say, I got out of bed today. It's the hardest thing I'm gonna do. And there's some truth to that. It's a minor gymnastics effort to do it, but sometimes people will take that as I'm better than them, or the work is and no, that's not the case. The case is you're asking me to do something at work. Why is that hard?
Yeah.
Let's just get to it. And so it's interesting. In fact, something comes to mind, and I don't know. We make fun of some guys at work. There's a movie called Over the Hedge. It's a cartoon movie, right? And there's this little squirrel, and he kept drinking the Jolt Cola or something. and squirrels are already crazy fast, and he drinks that stuff, and there he is just kind of dawdling through the yard while all this chaos is going around him. He's just like, yeah, no big deal, and so I think that's important. That one of the challenges, back to my wife, as she's started the trimmer right here again. um, Patience was probably the one thing that really would cause trouble for us, and my lack of patience. Um, I can't reach certain things, just can't. And I have to wait for her to come get them. And I have to realize that she's in the middle of typing something, that she's not going to drop everything and come right away.
Yeah.
Um, and so having that in place has helped a lot and helped to learn that. But I think patience with myself is important too, that, I may not be able to get that right away and take some time. So I think, I don't know, what's really hard anymore, Corey? I mean, what's really hard, really?
Yeah.
Work. I mean, and I love what I do. I think I do well and have some effort there, and I hope my coworkers think that I'm an asset or whatever. But I, it's not hard, And
It's a perspective.
what is really hard anyway? And the thing is, it's not about my wheelchairs. Our wheelchair's not hard. It's
Yeah.
not. So I don't know. Hard is, as a parent, hoping that I did right by my daughters, right? And every day worrying about that I set them up for success, and knowing that every one of them, all three of them, have their challenges um, in their own way, but knowing that, kind of as a dad, we always said, don't care where you are, don't care what's going on. You need out, you call, we'll come get you. And doesn't matter, no questions asked. And I don't know, I hope I raised them strong. So that's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of people that are watching this might be quietly struggling with something, something that we can't see necessarily, like the person on the phone talking with you that can't see, or the person on the Zoom sitting here can't see what things you're struggling with. And so
Yeah.
someone watching this right now, maybe struggling with
Struggling with my face a little bit right now.
my hand doubly then, but they're struggling with something that's invisible to a lot of people. What encouragement would you give those people?
It's hard. I have some stories that'll help relate it, I think, if anything, right? So um vulnerability is a big deal. I mean, you see what I'm going through. You see my chair. It's what it is. You don't see the fatigue as the day goes on, and how the pain kicks in to sit and do whatever. And that's fine, whatever. Like people at work will see me kind of bob up and down like this because I'm raising up in my chair to try to stretch my back a little bit. But here's a good example. I was in Orlando to speak to the intern onboarding for our company at Wells Fargo. And I had a chance to do two talks. One was up on stage in front of 250-ish folks, and then I was invited to do a smaller talk for a different group, about 40. And after the 40-person talk, and they all have Q&A, and they come line up and talk, right? It was fine. They, meaning I call them the kids. I mean, they're 20 to 22 years old, right? You
Yeah.
know, some of them never been on an airplane, and here they are flying to do an internship. And the gentleman walked up and confided in me, right, privately, that he had gotten into an accident years ago and his spine was very fragile. And here you are at Disney World, and you can't go on the rides because of that. And he's got
Mhm.
all of his new buddies saying, "What's the deal? Why can't you ride?" And his response was one is like, "Oh, just a problem with my back. I'm gonna take it easy." And he asked how he should approach that. And the vulnerability comes in. I said, my 2 cents is they care about you already because they're asking. They want to
Mhm.
be your friend, and it's okay to share that. And I will bet you they'll celebrate it with you, and they will have fun with you with that. And who knows, you might actually see them change a couple of things about what you're out and doing. So I'm not saying you tell your whole story, right? And spill your guts and so on. Um, but it's almost liberating when you can be free of it's not a secret, but it is your little secret, And you might just be able to say, I can't do that right now. This is why I got something going on.
Yeah.
And whether or not you want the attention or not, trust me, I mean, this isn't the kind of attention that you want to get.
Hmm.
But sometimes it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. Vulnerable, blah, blah, blah. I can't even say it. So there, I'm being vulnerable about the fact I can't even say vulnerable. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But truly, that is a huge, huge thing to really just embrace. Really,
Mhm.
um, Dean, I like to say I always like to give my guests, and you're my second guest, so thank you for that. So I always like to give my guests one of the last words of the show. And so if there's one message or truth that you want someone to take away from watching this tonight, what would that be?
Wow. We didn't script this, did we? No time to think about it.
Uh,
I'll kind of fall back on something my wife had told me forever ago and during those first few days. And we got the ball rolling because she came in and very tersely just said to me, "Get your eyes up." And it was a point early on in the injury where she caught me daydreaming and drifting a little bit. And the message was, no, we're not going there. You're gonna you get your eyes up. We're not fading away. We're not getting depressed. We're not doing whatever. And it it's so brief and so easy to think and to say. And it's just a good habit, right? And I think we walk around like this so much right now with our head down, our eyes are not up. From a guy in a wheelchair going through an airport, going through the state fair, going whatever, people looking down at their phone, they have no idea I'm there. I will yell, eyes up, and then like, oh crap, because they're right in front of me walking. And I'm like, come on, and there's so much going on out in the world. And if you're looking down, so be it. It kind of plays into the whole idea that it's okay to have a bad day or a couple in a row, but somewhere along the line, it's your average. You have to figure that out. So I would just say that get your eyes up, get off the small screen. It's not just the phone, you
yeah,
know, it's not the phone. There's a lot going on out here, a lot going on.
yeah, don't miss it. Yeah.
Yeah. Ferris Bueller, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Dean,
Yeah.
I want to thank you
Yeah. Of
for showing up here today, but just for showing up, period. Um,
course.
speaking truth and just reminding us that one, that growth isn't about comparing.
Hmm.
It's just about becoming. And that's what we're doing, and
Of
that's growth. So I appreciate you for sharing your heart and just sharing your story with us too.
course.
And thank you, Dion, out there, wherever you are, Dion, your wife.
She's right here. Gas trimmer going full bore.
All right. Well, thank you, Dion, for being a part of this too. I appreciate
Yeah.
you as well. But seriously, your story is just one of strength, but even more, it's about perspective, patience. You talked about that, and grit, and you show grit. And so I appreciate the fact that you just live that out. And I know someone out there is listening today, watching this today, and they felt seen for the first time. Something you said today helped them be seen for the first time. So
So,
um, I want to thank you for that too. So
yeah,
anyway, this is
I
just
appreciate it.
yeah, this is just hit record. Um, real people just telling real stories. So see you all next time. Thanks, Dean.
Love it. You bet. Thanks, sir.